This is the crazy thing, because a lot of conservatives and Republicans are a bunch of like fat, bald people, and it's just like, well, why don't you lose weight? Well, it's a little bit more complicated. No, it isn't, fat ass. Just lose some weight. You're all about personal responsibility. Get rid of your tits, huh? All right, let's go. Let's go to work today. Daddy's going to fix the government. I'm so ready. I've been waiting to fix the government. It's not that hard. People make it like it's a big deal to fix the government. We just got to burn it to the ground. Burn it. Let's just nuke the government and then, just start from scratch. That's how we should do it. I said that in jest, just in case the FBI or CIA is listening. No, this is I've been thinking a lot about this. So I'm a person, I don't have a political party. My ideologies are like, I'm really against corruption. I am against, I'm against war, stuff like that. Because I don't really have like a camp, I'm kind of like politically homeless. But I have a lot of friends on the left and a lot of friends on the right. And when I talk to them, most people, they like want the same things. And I've been thinking about this because like at the core of being a conservative or being a Republican, you want smaller federal government. Like that's at the core of what a lot of them want. And honestly, the older I get, and I'm in real estate. I'm a realtor. I have some rental properties, and the federal government won't leave me alone. So like I understand why they want a smaller federal government, because you can't change the government. At least in the private sector, you can be like, well, I don't want to give this company my money. But with the government, it's like tough cookies. You got to pay up. So they just want a smaller government. My left-leaning friends, I don't think it's as much that they want a large federal government. They just want robust social services. It seems that the best way to do that is through the federal government. My conservative friends just heard me and they're like, no, that's preposterous. So fuck off, okay? This is my proposition to fix the United States government, okay? We shrink government down to healthcare, military, and infrastructure. That's it. Huh?
Yeah, you nailed it.
So conservatives get their smaller government, liberals get their robust social services. Huh? Done.
That was easy.
Done. Like what? Like I'm here. I play video games. I smoke cigars on my porch. I play with my dog, and I figured it out, dude. What are these government officials doing all day? Nothing, dude. All they do is they work on re-election. That's what every government official does. Right when they get into office, they just work on re-election. Let's just fix some stuff. Just shrink it down to robust social services.
Just roll up your sleeves.
Does that make sense?
Get it done, yeah.
It's like, of course, this is like an oversimplification, but also, like, I think it makes a ton of sense.
I love we were just talking about nuance before this.
No, dude. Well, of course. When I'm not my Saint Aubin persona, I'm very nuanced. But that makes like a lot of sense to me. Like, how can we just wiggle things down and shrink the government to just being robust social services?
You got me. I mean, my boy Andrew Yang, he was saying like government's really good at one thing, and that's signing checks and delivering checks.
Yeah.
It's one thing we're excellent at doing on a mass scale quickly. So
I don't know. It makes a lot of sense to me. Because like there's certain things that I think like you said, the government's really good at. And I think there are certain things that the private sector is really good at. And I think the best thing about the private sector is that you don't have, um, well, I mean, there's no monopoly. So I guess the government have to be antitrust too. So four things.
Yeah, you know.
But because monopolies are a problem, but when you have multiple businesses competing for your business, it's just way better. Because, dude, like I've had to pay a bunch of money to like fix things around my house that are, I've gotten fined by the government because I had logs in my backyard on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
That's crazy. And but they're like, well, critters can grow and or be there and live, and I'm just like, what? You mean do what nature does? Like, I couldn't, and I got fined for it. And I couldn't believe it. And I read the code, and the code was the most generic and vague thing in the world. And I'm like, this is so impractical. Because the problem with the government is like, they don't work hard to fix things. There's too much to manage. So they just kind of put some rules in place, and then they never go back and like look at them. And that's like a huge problem.
Think about how many rules we got. I mean, bylaws and all that
so
jazz.
many laws.
Tons. I mean, you would never be able to like rewrite everything.
I
There's
know.
so many little like city municipal codes
Yeah.
have been written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I mean,
locked up.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been thinking about this idea for a very, very long time. Of just like, is it possible to shrink the government to robust social services? It's like that, like best of both worlds.
Free healthcare,
Free healthcare, 100%. Nobody's against free healthcare.
free college.
People are just afraid of when you say socialism. Then they're like, they get all
know.
like, well, you know. But it's just like, this is and this is wrong. Like my conservative friends are fucking dumb. They're just like, well, so free, like then everyone's gonna die because of communism. And it's just like, okay, Bubba, like let's like no, not at all. And they don't even. This is also the problem with, and this is probably both sides, but I'm gonna make fun of conservatives because I feel like I make fun of liberals too much. But like they don't know the definition of Marxism. They don't really know what that is. They just know it's bad.
Yeah.
It's bad. And like the simplest in Marxism in its simplest form is it's a critique of capitalism.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Let's
and
party.
it has nothing to do with government. It has nothing to do with like overreach. It's just like, hey, we're critical of capitalism, which makes sense because like I think capitalism's great, but it needs reform. And it needs checks and balances because then you have what we have now is these massive wealth gaps, and people like the gap between the rich and the poor is growing ever more. That was yikes. Anyway, I can't believe I just said that. That was so fucking dumb. I can't. I don't know what's more upsetting, that I said it or that it came naturally.
Came naturally.
Yeah, but so like, yeah, free healthcare, that would be incredible. Like, who wouldn't be? Now, I think there should be some private options for sure, because like one of the challenges of free healthcare is like if you have a special procedure that needs to get done, you could be put on like this really long wait list and die. Like that happens. Like a lot of people in Canada and other countries, they come to America to get certain procedures done. So like, yeah. Like, but for the vast majority of people who like go to the doctor a few times a year, get some medication, have like generic things happening, 100%, dude, free healthcare. Free college, sure, 100%. Why wouldn't we do, or not just college, but like education, like trades, stuff like that. Like it should all be. Absolutely, because from my perspective, like if we want to have the best country in the world, let's set our people up the best way possible. So it's like, yeah, giving them a social safety net of education, give them a social safety net of healthcare, and then also I think I'm a fan of like the freedom dividend or the universal basic income. I think Yang branded it well when he called it the freedom dividend, because that's like, oh yeah, dude, everybody partakes in this because we've all participated. Because like this is the thing, like when you look at universal basic income and the freedom dividend. Conservatives, they're just like, well, you're just going to incentivize lazy people to be more lazy. And it's just like, yeah, that's true. But you're focusing, in my opinion, and I think there's been data, I think they did some sort of universal basic income study in Compton, and the data was overwhelming that it actually helped people.
Oh, yeah.
So I think the question, what we really need to ask is like, how much laziness are we willing to have? Because like for sure there's going to be lazy people, but if it helps the majority, I think we should absolutely help
Oh, yeah.
the majority of people. And that makes 100% sense to me.
I don't know about, it also just makes things a little bit easier. Like if you just,
Yeah.
instead of like, oh, well, only these people get a check because like they are on.
Well,
it's
that's
like,
why you do it universally.
you get
Everybody
universal.
gets
So
it.
it's no matter if you have a job or not, you get this amount of money guaranteed. So it's like,
If like, because I think he was doing $1,000 a
yeah,
month.
it's $1,000
Like,
a month.
think of myself. Like, I mean, I work. I have a normal job, but $1,000 a month that could help me so much, like creatively.
It would cover so many people's rent for
I
the
could
most
it,
part.
it could it could cover like for people who really need it, like the single mom who works multiple jobs. She could quit one of her jobs, and now she has way more time to spend with her kids. Or for the people who like are better off, like myself, like I could pay $1,000 and pay a video editor. I can do way more content if I could pay somebody to help me. So like it seems to help everybody, you know. But it's just I think people, conservatives, they're way too they spend way too much time on personal responsibility.
I know.
And it's annoying. I mean, there's truth to what they say, because like at the end of the day, absolutely, you need to take personal responsibility for your actions. But this is the crazy thing, because a lot of conservatives and Republicans, they're a bunch of like fat bald people, and it's just like, well, why don't you lose weight? Well, you know, it's a little bit more complicated. No, it isn't, fat ass. Just lose some weight. You're all about personal responsibility. Get rid of your tits, huh? You know? So, but I mean, that's like political parties. Like it's nuanced when it comes to them, but other people, it's black and white. It's just oh, this is clear, you know? But yeah, so I think you could shrink the government. I think that'd be great. I've also been thinking about like starting a petition, like on change.org, of just like simple things, because it seems to me, and this is on both sides of the aisle, my conservative and left friends, the vast majority of them want ranked choice voting. The vast majority. And ranked choice voting is you basically have first choice, second choice, third choice. And because what ends up happening is people vote, and the vote never surpasses 50%. So then, let's say like your first choice voter was someone who's just not going to win. They remove that off your ballot, and then they go to your second choice, and that becomes your first, and it jumps over, and it like they basically whittle it all down until they get one of the people gets over 50%. And it's just a way, instead of having just like this binary, like you either get this person or this person, that's it. It's like, well, yes, you can vote first for this person, but then who else would you want to see? Who would you be okay with? Which I think that's universally a system that everybody wants. And even probably more universal is term limits. Every single Joe Byron has been in offense. Fuck, what am I saying?
Jesus.
Joe Byron has been in office since the Civil War. Why is he hasn't had a normal relationship with a human. Ever since he's been in office, he's been in a position of power. So like, how is he going to know what the struggles of the working place man, you know?
He's not going to know. How every election we get like the most insane options to pick.
Absolutely.
From. Like,
it's like Donald Trump or like Joe Biden.
Go back to 2016. Just really think about it. Like, you have a country of 360 million people.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, you either have Donald Trump ex like TV show host and billionaire, or you have Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And it's just like we can't pick anybody else,
Yeah.
like literally anyone else, to run for us. Like,
Yeah, and I think that's what ranked choice voting
Yeah.
would solve, you know. But I think so. I've actually been
wild to
thinking
me.
about doing a petition for term limits, where it's like you get 16 years maximum, you know.
Yeah. There's some old timers that need to go.
Well, we also need like if you have to be at least 35 years of age. You have to be less than 72 years old to be in office. Like Nancy Pelosi, she's 97 years old.
It's honestly a security threat. Like, think about how many times they've probably emailed reply all on some document.
100%, dude. They don't if Joe Biden has been in some sort of political office since, you know, the Rome Empire, like he doesn't know how to use a phone. He doesn't know. He looks like the guy from Tales from the Crypt. You know, like that's a problem when your highest ranking officials start to resemble skeletons than normal people.
90s cartoon skeleton host.
100%, dude. So it's like universally, everyone's just like, oh yeah, you shouldn't be in office for ever, you know. But that's where I think you and I have talked about this, where I think I'm intrigued by this idea. I can't remember what the term, you might look up the term, but it's the lottery government system.
Yeah.
It's called like satrition or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the biggest problems with our government is, I lost my thought train. It's, oh man, I had a really good point. What's, is it called satrition?
I'm looking up the name of it. I know exactly what you're talking
Look
about.
up I think it's satrition government.
I have nutrition government.
Isn't it not satrition government?
I know it's like, so you have like a random lottery once every so often, and basically it's like a random person gets elected into office as long as they're like eligible, I guess.
I can't remember what it's called. It's not. Yeah. What is it called?
Lottery.
Oh my gosh, this is great. Sortition.
Sortition.
Well, because I think this is what I was saying. One of the biggest problems with our government is like the whole idea of like civic duty has kind of been removed. And I know I said this earlier, but when somebody gets in office, they're so concerned with re-election.
Yeah.
That they don't really do what the people want. And like there's no people in government now, they're just like, well, I know what's best for you. And it's like, how do you know what's best for me when you've been in office since the dawn of man? You don't know. Like, you don't even know me. Every position you've had is a position of influence over your friends. And then once you hit like the Nancy Pelosi level, you're all a bunch of geriatrics hanging out. And like you're just hanging out with politicians. You're not having dinner, you know, with your mechanic friend. You're not going to Chipotle, like talking shit with the manager.
It's a scary way, but you think about it, it forces you have to go, okay, well, we need to make sure the majority of our country is well equipped to like, you know, so you need to focus on education. You have to focus on make sure
robust social. Well, it's like, yeah. So if we had a lottery government or sortition, I think it would help bring back the civic duty of serving people. And obviously, we're going to have systems in place. Like if you get jury duty, there's a vetting process. It's not like you just
not everyone can just jump on.
Hey, Chet, you're up. Oh, let me put my teeth back in, you know? But I think sortition government or a lottery government system would fix a lot of the issues we have and bring things back to a civic duty. Because what we have is a huge problem.
It'd be interesting if people could opt in to that pool.
Sure.
So
100%.
it's just all right. Maybe.
Well, I don't even know if I would want people who opt into it.
Just do it.
I would actually let's do. Yeah. Here's what we could do. People can opt into it, and then the people who opted in, they don't get picked. Because you don't want people who want power. It just gets weird, you know.
Yeah.
You want the guy who's just like, hey man, the custodian, he keeps hiding in the closet. Let's make him do it. But I think another thing is let's pay our politicians $1 million a year, something crazy, you know, because a lot of them are how is Nancy Pelosi worth $200 million? She's worth $200 million, has multiple houses, and her salary is $150,000 a year. She's the greatest investor of all time. So it's that's a huge problem. So why don't we just pay them really well, and then they can't play the stock market. They can't do all these things, and they get a bomb-ass retirement.
I mean, what president gets $400,000 a year?
That's not a lot. I mean, that's a lot of money, 100%. But we need to try to remove incentive outside. So it's cool, you get $1 million a year salary, and then you're out the game. That's the whole reason to serve is to serve for 8 years or whatever, and then you're out the game. So you don't have to climb this corporate bullshit ladder and then fuck everybody else, you know?
I would love to see this roll out. It'd be fascinating.
Yeah.
It'd probably be a complete garbage fire initially, but
I think so.
It'd be interesting.
But I mean, it's just we're getting to the age. It's just everything's a joke. Trump's Mar-a-Lago just got raided, and it's just the dude had classified documents. You can't do that, you know? Yeah. We have a bunch of bozos in office, and it's and then well, you know, all the left people are you need to lock him up, but they don't know why. They're just orange man bad, you know? And then you have the right-wing people. It's just all of a sudden we can't trust authority, you know? It went from back the blue to, well, now this is suspect, you know? It's absolutely ridiculous. But who knows? Trump could be in trouble, actual trouble, because I think there's this air about Trump that's the rules don't apply to me. You fired, you know? And it's just listen, I don't think Trump was as bad as people made it out to be. I think the media made him way worse, which actually really divided our country. I think the media is more to blame than Donald Trump is. But you can't steal documents. He had all these documents because he's obsessed with. I think there's some reports about Russiagate and stuff like that. But you can't take documents, and I'm tired of the bullshit on both sides. It's when push comes to shove on your camp, you have to make up some dumb excuse about, well, it's different. But it's just no, dude, call corruption for corruption. If Donald Trump had these documents,
just own up to it.
Then it's okay, that's illegal. You're going to jail. But here's the kicker. Let's say all this is horseshit, and the FBI did it just to ensure that he doesn't run next time, and they don't have anything solid. There's going to be a red wave after, because it's another sign of government overreach. There will be a huge red wave. So it's going to work in their favor. So it's if he's actually guilty, then great, he goes to jail. But if he's not, the conservatives and Republicans are just going to destroy when it comes to election time. But I don't. It's weird though. But now it's just I get suspect. I was reading a story about the FBI and how they radicalized this. I can't remember his name.
Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. They radicalized him to retire. I think it was I was Googling it earlier, but let's also just not pretend the FBI and our government is just squeaky clean, that they do everything for the good of the people, you know? A lot of it is just it's war, it's the war machine, you know, to help corporations make a ton of money. But a lot of it's too, it's just for the FBI to stay important. So I can't remember this guy's name, but essentially radicalized a Muslim guy to like do all these things. They paid for all this stuff, and gave him the tools to basically do some sort of bomb threat. But like right before he like went through with it, they like caught him and then arrested him and put him in jail. You know. God. And it's the same thing. It's like the NSA when they were like, well, we need to monitor everything. And then Edward Snowden was like, hey, why is there like quadruple the numbers on the U.S. as opposed to the rest of the world?
Yeah.
Like, we can't pretend that the government is just like they have our best interest in heart.
I think it's a lot of these. I like to think that most people are kind of blindly interested in their own like survival. So like, for example, like maybe like if the FBI or the police, like if they're going to get defunded, they're going to like get programs cut. They don't look at it as like, well, we got to like lie and cheat and steal, but they look like, well, how can we like kind of make up some value to show that we're worth it?
Yeah.
And so people start kind of fibbing here and there like, oh no, we need this program or we need this, you know, and then, okay, yeah, we'll give more money to this thing. And suddenly everyone's just spending money or they're
it's all corners. It's like an ego trip. It's a power play. And
it's like the coal industry stuff where it's like there's there's good people working at those factories, you know, good heart, and they're not all like, oh, we want to kill the environment. They're just thinking,
and that's the thing,
closest job I have.
I mean, there's like you can't throw like the FBI like the baby out with the bathwater.
No,
like there people in the FBI who are like intentionally deceptive. Absolutely. Yeah. But you can't just say the entire FBI.
Most people are just trying to do their job and stay.
Oh, that'd be amazing. Well, please, Republicans and conservatives, start rallies and wear hats and clothing and say defund the FBI. That would be amazing. Please, let's do it, dude. Okay. That would be the funniest thing. Defund the FBI. Oh my gosh. Thank God. But yeah, man, I mean, we can't, I don't know. I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over. Let's end with Andrew Tate, dude.
Yeah.
My homie.
Oh, boy.
Homie got
what was coming.
He got banned from, it was Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. What was the wording that they used? It was something like
breaking
dangerous
their code of conduct and
breaking their code of conduct because he is a dangerous organization and or dangerous individual. Which I don't know, dude. Like, part of me is like, yes, I think there are things that he said. One, it's the internet. He understands the internet. Not many people understand the internet. They look at the internet. They look at me. They look at whoever's talking on the internet, and like that's everything that they say is true, but they don't understand that it's a character. Saint Aubin is a character, you know. Don't tell people. But like Andrew Tate is a character. Does he believe some of the things he says? Absolutely. But I think it's all inflammatory. But for me, I think it's crazy that he got banned. Regardless of what he says, it's just like I just don't like when organizations can be like, hey, we don't like your opinions. We're going to kind of shut you out. One, because it's just it basically just follows whoever's in power. If you're in power, let's say the Westboro Baptist Church runs Facebook. It's just like, oh, all of a sudden, all the progressive ideas are going to get shut down. And that's a problem. But two, I don't think banning people from websites and stuff helps. It just further silos them. And maybe Andrew Tate's a little bit different just because he's a personality. But, I mean, you've looked at, particularly during the Trump era, all these people who got banned, then, like, they get on radicalist websites. They go on the forums of, like, 4chan.
Yeah.
And then they're really then they write a manifesto and fucking shoot up a building. Because, like, they've been pushed so far to the fringes that the only way for their message to get across is destruction and chaos and violence. And that's a problem. But, yeah, I don't think I agree with Andrew Tate getting banned. I understand a lot of what he says is kind of absolute, which people don't like. And I think a lot of the stuff he says is very misogynistic, but people have a right to be a misogynist. Right? I think so. Will society will treat them as such, but I think people have the right to be an asshole. I don't think they should be.
Yeah, I think you have a right
think
to
you
be
should
an
grow.
asshole.
But yeah, you have a right to be an asshole, and I would put a misogynist in the category of being an asshole. But I don't think that silencing people for being an asshole is a good idea. Because because the problem is who determines who is an asshole.
Yeah.
And if it's someone you like, it's great, of course. And it's easy with someone like Andrew Tate. It's so easy to be like, yeah, dude, that dude should be shut down. But if you're not, if you're like on his team, you're like, yo, dude, what the hell? Like, what the hell's going on? Because the crazy thing is he has Hustlers University, which has thousands and thousands of people who are there. He also has something called the War Room, which is like probably an even smaller group, but like he's got people all around, So I don't know. But I think it also just kind of goes like, because conservatives are like, well, free speech is being, and it's like, it's not, dude. Free speech is not, you can say whatever you want against the government. But these social media companies can silence you if they want because they're private companies. Mm-hmm. I think it's a different conversation because we need to start having the conversation of, is Twitter, is Instagram, is TikTok, is Facebook, is that the new public square?
Well, and I also think people are having two different convos because a company trying to ban people to keep their brand and their specific, vibe of what they're going for is different than what rights people have in a public space.
Sure.
So it's like Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, I don't really, when I see people get banned, I'm not throwing up my arms because I'm like, that's their choice. If they want to remove people, they could write a new policy tomorrow that says anybody below 6 foot, we don't want on their, I don't know if that's technically legal, but you know what I'm saying? It's like they could set boundaries for the brand that they want.
Yeah.
Whereas like in the literal public sphere, if I want to just like shout from my rooftop certain things, or if I want to like write a book about something, I have way more leniency there. So it's like, it's all about like who's publishing the content, who's promoting the content. And that's who you're really battling. You're not battling the United States government for your rights most of the time.
Well, but this is where it gets interesting because like conservatives are now like who are historically anti-regulation. Well, I'd say probably more libertarian, but they're like, hey, you need to regulate this because like you can't, because there's a lot of evidence of like when have you followed the Hunter Biden story at all or heard anything about him?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
But it's like Twitter just like squashed that. Yeah. Social media like squashed that. Now, would that have swayed the election? I have no idea. But that definitely paints Hunter Biden and Joe Biden in a negative light. And like that's a problem to like have a company just be like, well, let's just poo-poo this, Yeah. Because I think so the argument or the question is like, are these social media companies the new town square?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like there's been all sorts of issues with newspapers and books in the past, printed media. So it's same problem, but just a new.
Well, and it's true because like part of me says, like they should be, and free speech should be applied to these companies. But also, I weirdly have more trust in a private company than the government regulating what is on social media.
Because they're not 85,000 years old.
Yeah, but because you can stop, because you could start Getter or all whatever, even though you're not going to have as much of a following on it. But I don't know. I think, I am on the fence when it comes to.
Do you think you're going to get banned?
I don't think so. I think the worst thing that can happen to me is people try to cancel me for like saying certain things. But I don't think any of my ideas are like radical. Like I definitely speak cavalierly, and I think people might get confused because I'm not a comedian. I'm a musician. So they could think that what I say is more absolute. But no, I don't think so. I'll definitely turn off a lot of people. But I'm just like, well, if your whole thing is like, how do I not turn off people? I just feel like you're not being true to yourself.
Yeah.
Like I'm a little bit of a wild, like a loose cannon. I find the funniest like humor in like what's the most fucked up thing and how can you get somebody to laugh at it?
Yeah.
Because for me, because it's risk. It's super risky to make a rape joke. Super risky to make that. But the reward is eternal, dude. If you got like a rape victim to laugh at a rape joke, bravo. Like, that's rough. It's 100% rough. But like, so you could look at that and be like, well, that's really insensitive. Or like when my mom died and like I heard like dead mom jokes, like for those 7 seconds that I laughed, it provided relief.
Yeah.
And that's incredibly powerful.
You know, I listened to a quick interview with Jeff Ross about roasting people, and he was like, it's like the most therapeutic thing I've done for people. He's like, he went to a show and this guy was like severely like disfigured from like a fire or something. And he was doing volunteer work. He was like, anybody come up on stage and I'll roast you.
Yeah.
And that guy just walked right up on stage.
Right.
And he was saying the whole time, he's like, maybe I should give him some special treatment. Maybe I should like not go that. And he's like, no, he's like, I'm going to just make fun of this.
Because this has always been my issue with people say, you can't joke about that.
Yeah.
It's like, why, when you walk it back, it's just, well, why can't you? Well, they've been through a lot. Well, a lot of people have been through a lot. Why can't you? Well, and then you get it, you boil it down to, I feel bad for them. I pity them. And in a way, I look down at them because I feel, and I'm just like, the most, the best thing you can do is make fun of everybody.
Yeah.
And like, if I make fun of you for your pasty skin, because that's the most obvious when you walk around, looking like a fucking jellyfish, like that's the most obvious thing. If someone's in a wheelchair, it's just like, hey buddy,
give him a standing ovation.
Hey, yeah, like, so I don't know. I know for me, when I've been treated differently because of certain aspects of myself, being fat, having a big head, a small penis, like whatever it is, like I despise it. I absolutely despise people giving me special treatment because they think I need it. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everybody. I think that was a great day. Man, we solved the world's problems. I got to talk about Trump. I don't think it's a Saint Aubin Central episode without me talking about Trump. Watch my leftist loser friends lose their brains, and my fucking, ooh, maybe, okay, sorry, I'll tell you what. But yeah, thanks for listening. My song's still out. I just passed 1,000 streams on Anchor's Break, which feels good. So, ciao. Thanks for listening. Chowder.